Joe Troop from Che Apalache, welcome to eTown. Glad you're here.
Thank you, Nick.
Glad you
Pleasure
made it.
to be here.
Your new record is called Rearrange My Heart and includes a series of invitations to look at things a little differently. And that song, The Dreamer, it's just somebody you knew, and that was his experience.
Yeah, he's a special guy too. Moises is a political activist, and he was featured in a documentary film called Forbidden, Undocumented and Queer in Rural America. And I thought he was really brave, so I was immediately intrigued by his person. And
I want to congratulate you on the Grammy nomination, by the way, for your record.
Thank you. Yeah,
And that was pretty cool. Was it cool?
it was cool. Yeah, it was like being on a really fancy cruise ship, sort of.
And did you invite Moises to come?
Yep. As soon as we got the nomination, we were like, "Well, he's got to be there." So he walked the red carpet with us.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. He also directed. He wrote the script for the music video that we made for that song, and he acted in it too. So we kind of gone full circle with his story.
Well, it's great to find this combination of, updating the traditions and the musical traditions that you grew up around and were inspired by and that you've sort of expanded, but also kind of contemporizing the songs around issues that you care about.
Right.
It's not typical.
Oh, I guess we're just trying to make space for a new narrative because, like people like KC already have demonstrated, there's already a parallel narrative that exists. People just haven't latched onto it in media too much.
Yeah.
We just need to start telling the right stories, the contemporary stories.
Yeah. Well, let me back up a little bit. So you grew up in North Carolina. Did your parents take you to hear old time and bluegrass music when you were young?
Actually, my brother did. My brother took me up. He was at ASU, and I'm a bit younger than him. And he one time he came back to Winston-Salem from Boone, North Carolina, and was just going to take me up to hang out with him for a weekend. And on the way, there was this old country diner, and he said, "Oh, Doc Watson, you're going to like this guy." So he walked in. I was 13 years old, and I sat literally right in front of Doc and his family members, just mesmerized. And I had this like epiphany. It was like I found myself that very night. And as soon as Doc finished, he came up and said, "Son, I think I recognize you." And I was like, "How do you recognize me? You're blind." But I also felt, that's really nice. Why me? I'm just a guy. And I just thought, and that just a testament to how cool Doc was.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience, which is a pretty good one.
That's a really good one. That's a good origin story. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Doc would always say, "Good to see you again."
Yeah. He had his rehearsed one-liners.
And how old were you? You were talking about Moises coming out and being in North Carolina and being queer. How old were you when you came out?
I guess I was 18 or 19. I guess 19. I had already come out to myself when I was a kid. I knew I was gay, but it wasn't. It was pretty taboo back then still. Especially in the Southeast. But I came out publicly at 19. I had the whole gay parade, and then I said, "Okay, I'm leaving," and went to Spain. So
yeah. And I'm wondering if just knowing, as a teenager, knowing that about yourself and not sharing it, in some ways isn't, similar to that experience of being undocumented.
Yeah, in immigrant rights activism, you'll find an overwhelming number of queers involved in it because there is an intersectionality there between being. That's why Moises' film is so interesting.
Right.
The intersectionality of being both queer and undocumented, and the risk of coming out as either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you got to Spain, why was that a special place for you in your travels? You went to Japan, you went to a whole bunch of other countries.
Well, basically, Spain was cool because I was automatically othered. I didn't have to worry about being othered because I had to learn how to get cheese and not be outed as a foreigner.
Yeah.
So the immigrant experience is kind of wonderful in a way because it allows you to just kind of, no matter what you do, you're going to be the oddball out.
Yeah. And you're musical, so you're good with languages.
I have a knack for them. I really like them, though. I think it's more of a passion than it is a talent. I'd say that about my lingual capacity. I'm no hyper polyglot. I speak a few of them.
Yeah, like how many?
Well, I speak Japanese, and it's worse every day, and I speak Spanish because I've lived in it for 12 years.
Yeah, you're speaking pretty good French backstage.
I can speak a little French. I can speak French. Yeah.
You can speak a little North Carolina if you have to.
Yeah, I could do that too.
Hey, and so what about the move to Argentina? What was that? Why was that different? What did you find down there?
Well, because that's a real immigrant experience. Like, Americans tend to call themselves expats because we come from the empire, but I got to actually start identifying as an immigrant and liking how that rung in my ears.
Yeah.
So I got down there 10 years ago, and it runs the emotional gamut, what you experience as a person from a different place, and it helps you build empathy towards people who might be experiencing something akin to that, but in your native land. So that's why bringing Che Apalache up here was such a powerful thing, because we got to kind of, I guess, shed some light on the issue of migration and having to assimilate in a place that's not yours. Because you do go through the gamut of humiliation, sadness, homesickness, everything. Everyone goes through that.
Yeah.
And having experienced that was a beautifully emboldening process.
Mm-hmm.
So highly recommend it. To all you kids listening out there,
Go somewhere.
go
where
somewhere
you're,
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave the United States and come back, and then
That's what
share
Aoife tells
you
her
learned.
kids all the time.
Totally.
Go somewhere else.
Ireland.
I need some quiet.
Yeah. I second that. Getting your own hotel room. We're road dogging it, so when we get a swanky hotel in Boulder, we're not complaining. It's nice.
In case you just tuned in, you're listening to eTown. I'm here with Joe Troop from the band Che Apalache. I want to ask you about when you get to Argentina, because there's a whole indigenous musical culture there. There's, tango and lots and lots of stuff down there, right?
Yeah, it's incredibly diverse. I mean, the country's huge. What's most been exported is tango, but you've got, milonga, chacarera, chamamé, samba with a Z, not the Brazilian samba, and huayno, and all these, carnavalito, all these amazing musics.
Wow.
But yeah, it's crazy.
And is there any, as an American, is there any sort of residual awareness of the U.S.'s sort of disruptive role with our CIA intervention and stuff
Of course.
in Argentina?
I mean, interventionist policies have devastated Latin America for a long time. And Argentina is no exception to that. In fact, the latest dictatorship, 76 to 83, was Operation Condors. They flew in there, and it wasn't just the United States, but let's just say there is a lot of resentment towards the United States down there, and I think justifiably.
Yeah, so here you are. You show up, obviously Yankee, playing old-time fiddle and
I ain't a
bluegrass
Yankee.
music.
You're a Yankee.
I'm a Yankee, but you.
I'm just joking.
But I mean, you're.
No, but that's what they call. I said they call all Americans down there Shankies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not being shy about saying, look, I'm from North Carolina. I'm playing bluegrass music, and I'm putting out my shingle and teaching. I'm going to teach all the other musicians how to play this kind of music. That's a bold move of its own.
Yeah, it's kind of cool opening new narratives in other places too. Like, I mean, Che Apalache does that in Argentina as much as we do in the United States. It's kind of like people here. There's a stigma, the stigma of Appalachian the Appalachian string band music as being, a bunch of ignorant hillbillies has been propagated internationally. So people, as soon as they hear a banjo, they'll be like, like Cletus on The Simpsons or something. But they won't know the depth and the beauty inherent to the Appalachian musical tradition. You know what I mean? It's been subjugated too in the narrative. So it's just kind of like, we get to be half musicians, half sociologists, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, you're encouraging throughout people to sort of think of things, rearranging their hearts, thinking about different ways of looking at things. And there is something, as a guy who's been around the bluegrass world a little bit, there is something powerful about that style of music. The drive that comes from that combination of instruments and the style of singing and the connection that people can have when they participate, because it's a participatory kind of music.
It sure is. And it's also a kind of music that is a little bit, far less judgmental than other types of music. Like, if you can play, you can get a stage. Right. You might be half homely. You might not be the prettiest berry in the batch, but that doesn't matter. It's all about the music. You know what I mean? And that's what's so cool about bluegrass is that what it really boils down to is your level of artistic expression.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, a lot of the songs are not terribly contemporary themes. A lot of them are about being homesick and the traditional songs or loss or wistfulness, or in some cases just kind of words that are strung together so that the tunes can be played longer.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of fluff.
Yeah.
In all traditional music throughout the world, there's quite a bit of fluff.
But you're changing that in that you're bringing this relatively traditional style of music up to date with some themes that are really current and really insightful. And I imagine some of them are perceived as, some of your songs are perceived as kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, what's he talking about? We're at a bluegrass festival here in the South, and you're singing about, these themes that I wasn't prepared to confront at this moment.
Right, that's the disrupting of the narrative. Like you guys in Hot Rise were brilliant at doing that. You kind of passed the torch along to us. So I got to sing y'all's praises too. But you go in there and you don't coincide particularly well with the zeitgeist of where you're playing. But if you're clever enough, there is a way to subvert, and that's the whole idea. And indoctrinate, I suppose. You got to usher in people to the right side of history sometimes, you know what I mean?
Which leads us to your next song.
Yeah.
In a pretty cool way. So we've got lots more music. Joe, this next song is one I know you're playing at festivals, and it attracts different responses, and our audience is going to be given that opportunity right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Here's your trial, guys.
Welcome back to eTown. Thanks, Joe. Welcome back to eTown. Che Apalache. Hi, this is Nick Forster from eTown. If you want to stay up to date with all the performances, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage, click the subscribe button. Thanks.